Welcome. I'm Jason Dexter, known in the War of the Ring community as Saved by Him 01. This is the first time I've recorded any kind of commentary video. This is for the Warriors of Middle-earth 2024 final between Vayze and Spartako. Not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I was in the semifinals and lost to Spartako in game 3. So I'd rather be playing in this final, but I'm not. So I thought I'd bring commentary to you instead. So this is a game being played with Warriors of Middle-earth and Lords of Middle-earth expansions together. Anytime you get several expansions together, crazy stuff can happen. So I'm hoping for a lot of crazy stuff in this game. We'll go through it. This is the first time I've ever seen it, so I will share some thoughts as we go through, and I hope you enjoy this game. I hope it is a good one. This tournament started way back in probably September, and it's still going on, so we're almost to the very end. So they rolled for sides, and Vayze took the free, and Spartako took the shadow. Vayze started off with Gimli out in Erebor, so Shadow received 1 token. This is a move that I like to do. I like to put Gimli in Erebor just because it saves. It oftentimes can really just save Erebor, so it can save 2 points in the do line. Gimli is really good for protecting it and also for bringing the dwarves to war little by little because they're far away from other nations. So you can use various kind of wasted dice, maybe draw card dice or Palantirs that you don't need or other dice that you don't need elsewhere and slowly get the dwarves to war and perhaps create a big problem in do. So we'll see what happens with that, but I think that is a solid choice. The Shadow rolls multiple eyes, and the free starts off with pretty basic army movements. The Shadow started off with Denethor's Folly and Morgul Wound in hand. Denethor's Folly is a long way from being used, and yeah, Morgul Wound, it would need the Fellowship to be revealed, so potentially he could wait on that and play Morgul Wound if the Fellowship is revealed, rather than drawing a card. But maybe he also wants to see what strategy cards he has to decide where to start targeting his forces. Fellowship moves and is found and is not revealed. It is a 2, and he just decides to take the corruption. In a base game, you would normally just lose Gandalf right off the bat. But in WoME, LoME together, there's not quite as much of a hurry, especially since Gandalf has his own die. All right, Spartako combines armies. Vayze starts to bring the elves to war. So here is a kind of a first choice which Vayze has. He has 2 more character dice, and the Shadow has 3 eyes in the box. So in the base game, you would normally just move as fast as possible. With multi-expansions, you have a lot more defense that you can muster to protect your nation, so you're not quite as much in a hurry, and you're definitely worried about the Witch King, the chief that LoME brings out. If he's on your tail from turn 1, it can get really messy really fast with corruption. So if I were him, I do not think I certainly would not move a second time right now, because then the Witch King can come right on top with the muster if it's a reveal. So I would find something else to do with one of these character dice and wait to see if the Shadow uses his muster die, then I might move a second time. But often with multi-expansions, I move pretty slowly the first turn or 2 just because I'm that terrified of the Witch King. So we'll see what he does. He uses Gimli. That's the same thing I would have done to bring the dwarves up 1. So yeah, this is a good move by Spartako. If he uses the token first, then he can save the muster for mustering the chief on top if the Fellowship moves and is revealed. So that makes a lot of sense. Right here, would you move again as Vayze, or would you maybe move the dwarves up again? It's a tough call. The Shadow can still get Gothmog if they don't get the chief this turn, since Sauron is at war. The pool is just over 50% revealing tiles. And yeah, so it's about a roughly 30% chance that he'll be revealed. I didn't do the exact calculations, but uses Gimli again. So that's reasonable. I don't like to rush against multi-eyes with several expansions going on. So my guess is he'll get Gothmog here, and he does. All right, so turn 1. The free moved the dwarves pretty close to war, so he's making good use of Gimli. That's one reason why I like one companion out, is you just have another good use of kind of dice you don't want to use doing other things like Palantirs or swords when you don't want to move, or maybe the draw card icon, which actually I need to double check the rules. I think that can, yeah, that can be used to move up the nations. And the free got a very good draw. Not a good draw in base, but a very good draw in this game. He has Wizard's Staff, which enables him to protect the Fellowship from an early chief. That is very, very good in WoME LoME. He also has Thranduil's Archers and King Bran's Men, so the do line could get messy with all of those reinforcement cards. And the Shadow got Pits of Mordor and Breaking of Fellowship. Oh my goodness. That is a terrible roll for the Shadow. And that also means that Vayze has choice not to move, whereby he might have gotten revealed. And if the Chief was on top of him, the Shadow could potentially get 5 card draws on this turn, which would be pretty bad for the Fellowship. So what is he going to do with all these Palantirs? Vayze certainly will not move right away, because he doesn't want to get revealed into that. He'll probably play the Wizard Staff after passing once. So he passes once. Shadow starts drawing strategy cards. It's just a terrible roll. Sometimes these things happen. It's just like, you know, what can you do? Just garbage. He plays Wizard Staff. Spartako certainly doesn't want to see that. He starts moving nations up. There's still no hurry to move the Fellowship. Moves up, protects Gondor. Bits of Mordor is played. Now he moves the Fellowship. Even if he is revealed, well, actually he has Wizard Staff to protect, but even besides that, the Shadow still got no muster, so they can't get Sauron, they can't get any kind of faction in play. Just a very, very slow start for the Shadow. Another strategy card. Now his hand is full of 6 strategy cards, and oh my goodness. He can't play a single one. He can't play Morgul Wound, Breaking of the Fellowship, Day Without Dawn, Denethor's Folly, Half Orcs and Goblin Men, or Return of the Witch King. So he has 6 unplayable cards in his hand. Needless to say, that's nothing you ever want to see as the Shadow. So just a terrible turn, terrible cards, terrible start for the Shadow. Right now, I would say the free have a very strong chance to win just because of how brutal the start is for the Shadow. Okay, so Vayze moves again. The Shadow really needs to start hitting the Fellowship because military is going to be really slow, but safe again. Moves forward towards the dew line. Okay, what will Vayze do with his muster die? He could move the elves up. He could move the north up, or he could play King Bran's Mend. I don't think moving the elves up helps that much, since it doesn't look like he's going for Lorien and Woodland Realm, so I'm guessing the north or King Bran's Men. He does move the elves up. I guess it's possible that he can get the elves to war and then recruit before Sauron gets there, if he uses his first 2 actions on that next turn. And what is he going to do? Is he going to draw another card? Throw it away? Oh, he draws a faction card. That's one of the weakest possible moves early in the game, but better than throwing the card away. So, I mean the die away. Okay, so Spartako's still stuck on only 8 dice. He really needs to roll some musters pronto. And he drew Horde from the East and Lord of the Elven Rings. Okay, he finally has a card he can play, Lord of the Elven Rings. That's the only one, but it's a very weak card, so we'll see if he even keeps it. He did get the Craft of Shelob, which will come in handy eventually. Okay, so Gandalf betrays the Fellowship. Finally, a little bit of luck for the Shadow. Cards that he threw away. Threw away Breaking of the Fellowship. The thing is his military is so slow. It's almost like he might have to pivot to corruption at some point. And Vayze has a role in which he can get Aragorn and still move. I would definitely consider that. I really like getting Aragorn in Where's the Middle Earth games, especially if you can crown him in Dol Amroth, because then you can also get the Deadmen faction in play, which they're very strong for protecting Gondor, especially Dol Amroth. So let's see what he'll do. Spartako is mentioning how very, very hard his opening rolls are. I don't think anybody is going to argue with that. Fair comment. Sometimes when you get really bad rolls, it's hard not to say anything at all. Okay, so I think this is a pretty good move. He attacks Old Forest Road straight away. He wants to get Woodland Realm under siege before Vayze can reinforce it. So it turns out mustering the elves up, because he didn't get at least 2 musters, that didn't help him. So that die wasn't very useful. Swarm of Bats blocks advantageous position. He takes Old Forest Road. Okay. He's coming hard after Gondor, and he's hoping to wipe out the north first. Now, it would be a shame for Vayze not to be able to play King Bran's men here, because that could really help the Dew line shore up. But if he does play King Bran's men, either he has to use a ring and not move, or he has to not get Aragorn. So let's see what he chooses. So he moves the Fellowship first. Safe again. And with Wizard Staff still in his pocket, things are looking down for the Shadow. So he goes into Gondor. Vayze hits him once. The 2 guys in Osgiliath live. So will he reinforce minus Tirith or get Aragorn? I'm still guessing he's going to get Aragorn, but let's see. Yep. That's what I would have done. Yeah, his attack, though, on Gondor, Spartako's attack on Gondor, means that Dale can still reinforce next turn before he attacks. So getting Dale finished while you have the chance could have been good. But then again, getting minus Tirith under siege without it reinforcing does look like the priority, because you can't expect that they're going to have the Dale reinforce card in their hand. So I think both of them played quite well on this turn. Played to the cards and the dice that they had. Denethor's Folly, that's another good reason to attack minus Tirith. You get to clear your hand because there's just too many cards filling it up. Yeah, very good play by Spartako on this turn to do that. Aragorn's crowned. So Saruman is at war. Okay. Spartako's still stuck on 8 dice. He could really use to get a couple more minions in play. He draws Flocks of Crebain and Shadows on the Misty Mountains. Okay, Spartako finally gets a decent roll. He has a bunch of musters. I'm sure he'll get out one of the versions of the Witch King and Saruman and perhaps a faction too. So he might gain 3 dice on this turn. And Vayze will probably try to get a faction out. Maybe try to... Interesting. He could try to kill Gandalf off by moving a lot. Against 2 eyes. There's no minions out, but there probably will be. We'll see. Yeah, that's the good first move. Reinforcing Dale before it can be attacked. Spartako moves up the Southrons. Vayze moves, safe again. Moves up the Southrons again. Interesting. He's going hard for the Southrons. He still has 2 musters left, so he can only gain 2 minions or get 2 extra dice for next turn. But maybe he wants to attack Gondor quickly before... Wait. He's just now promoting Aragorn? I think I must have missed something. I thought he had a Will of the West last turn. Oh, he moved to Gondor Elite there. I looked at that wrong. Okay. Starts to reinforce Gondor. Spartako finally catches the Fellowship on move 6, and Wizard Staff is there. So, brutal start. What would you do right now as the Shadow? It doesn't look like you can kill the Fellowship, and it doesn't really look like you can win militarily. So, you could just start throwing 5 eyes into the pool, into the hunt box every time, and hope to swing something around. Hope to get some red tiles. Red tiles can always save you. I don't know. It's difficult. So, interestingly, Vayze does not get the dead men going. Instead, he reinforces Dol-Amroth. Dol-Amroth is not quite as much in a hurry in the expansion as it is in the base game because there's no more Corsairs cards, so it takes some time to get the Corsairs over there with Southrons. So personally, I probably would have been more inclined to either move again and try to crown Gandalf or get the dead men. I probably would go for the dead men because getting Gandalf isn't really a priority right now since he has the Gandalf die and since he has Aragorn in play. So I would just go for the dead men and use that way to start protecting Gondor. Then you can start to recruit them and get the faction die as well. But that's one of the cool things about War of the Ring is there are a lot of possible paths, and especially when you add in the 2 expansions, LoME and WoME, the number of choices grows exponentially. So there's often 2 or 3 or 4 different good things which you can do, and then you need to decide which of these good things do I want to do. Which is one reason I enjoy playing with the expansions more than the base game. The base game is not solved. It's still very fun. There is still lots of choices there, but I enjoy when there's even more choices. A lot of times when you add in the expansions, when you have, for example, lots of musters at the beginning of the game, it's not that clear what you should do. Whereas in the base game, it's pretty clear. In this game, there are a lot of choices. So I like that aspect of the expansions. All right, moving on to the battle at hand. Spartako is going hard for Minas Tirith. Interestingly, he doesn't recruit the Witch King first. I probably would have recruited the Witch King and then be redrawing here. I think it's going to be too late to get the Chief. Even if Vayze is revealed next turn on his next move, you'll still only have perhaps, 2 or 3 card draws from the Chief. It'll be almost a Mordor. And that's even assuming that he's revealed right away. So if he gets the Witch King now, he gets an extra die and gets the card redraw. Okay, no card. Another hit and press. And he does nail it in one shot, even with only 2 Nazgul there. So pretty good rolling. He has his first 2 points. Okay. So I wasn't looking at Vayze's faction cards. I imagine he's watching the game and thinking, I have Paths of the Dead. I have Paths of the Dead in my hand. That's why I'm not getting the dead men yet. So if he watches the game, he's surely thinking that. He'll probably even put it in the comments. But here it is, Paths of the Dead. So, yep, I was blind. I didn't see that card, just as the Sauron was blind to it in the books. So he plays Paths of the Dead with his Palantir. That's a much better way of doing it. Apologies, Vayze. Very well played round. Okay, and Spartako gets Corsairs. It makes sense since he was rushing the Southrons to war. And now he has the Corsairs. But Dol-Amroth is going to be very difficult to take out. With the Deadman protecting in it fully buffed and even more time to reinforce it more. So it's going to be challenging. Okay, so finally getting a little bit better rolls for the Shadow, but still only 4 attacks, 3 Palantirs. So that's still more Palantirs than he wants to see. Not so many eyes. The Fellowship is 4 moves away from Mordor. So Normally at the beginning of a turn, I will look at my dice and think, you know, what's the priority for this turn? What is the most dangerous place to protect? And can I, always as the Fellowship, you want to be asking, can I make it to Mordor this turn? If you can make it to Mordor and push for Mordor, oftentimes that's a good choice. If Vayze brings out Elrond and uses Elrond's ring, he'll have five character dice against one eye. The first one will not go in the box, so he would have a shot at making Mordor this turn if he pushes it. Then again, things are not in a super big hurry right now. He also has 3 rings for the Elven King, so he could get back Elrond's ring potentially. For the Shadow, what would you do here? He has 2 points in Minas Tirith, and presumably he could get maybe 2 more from Woodland Realm. He doesn't know Vayze has Thranduil's archers in hand, but that would be 4 points if he could take that. Lorien's very difficult. Helm's Deep is possible with a bit of recruiting. That would be a target. That could be 6 points. Where are your other 4 points coming from? Dol Amroth is possible, but he's going to have to throw both of those big armies at it, so it's challenging. Let's see. Vayze passes right away. Reasonable. Oftentimes with One Will of the West, it's good just to let them play the card and get it out of there. And anyway, he wouldn't want to use the Will of the West first to move the Fellowship. I think it's also good for Spartako because that makes it very, very difficult for Vayze to make Mordor this turn. He gets the Dunlending, so he's finally going to have his faction die. Maybe there's a little less urgency for Spartako to get the Witch King because he has Gothmog's die, which would have been gone. Shadows of the Misty Mountains. Nice card, but where is he going to go with it? It's going to take a lot bigger force than that to take Lorien by the time Galadriel comes. Perhaps Rivendell. Fellowship moves, safe. More Dunlendings come out. Wait, not more Dunlendings, more Isengard units. Okay, Elrond's in play. It does look like he might be going after Rivendell, so it's good to get Elrond going. We had a reconnect issue. Still safe. The Fellowship, you know, it's just one of those games where the Fellowship gets lucky. No other real way to say it. I saw a meme recently of Boromir as like a homeless guy after War of the Rings was over, holding up a sign that he was talking about the hobbits. One doesn't simply walk into Mordor. He was holding up a sign. One doesn't simply walk into Mordor. It wasn't actually that simple, he says. It was very complicated to walk into Mordor. So in the books, it was somewhat complicated. In this game, fairly simple. Okay, so he's going after Rivendell. I think that's nicely played, especially without any real musters on the board for Vayze to protect. Oh my. Spartako misses again, which means he won't be able to stop the Fellowship from getting to Mordor. That's not good. Now he plays blocks of Crebain. No, he didn't. He just showed it, but he didn't actually play it. Should he bring out the Balrog here and go for a corruption victory? I mean, sometimes you're just put into a position where it's very difficult to do anything. I don't think there's really any way he can reach military in time, aside from red tiles. So the only real chance is to try to slow down the Fellowship. Yeah, so if it were me, I'd probably bring out the Balrog just to try to get an extra tile. And Spartako misses again. And Vayze tries to get back. 3 rings for the Elven Kings. Misses. Can't really complain after all the luck he's had. Spartako does get a good job, does do a good job of getting both elven strongholds under siege. Another dead man comes out. Oh, and you know the way there. So 2 more Smeagol tiles added to the pool. Okay, so he's in Mordor. Straight shot, never revealed. Pretty much a disaster scenario for Spartako. What do you do here as the shadow? He has potentially 6 points. If he takes both of those, the 4 more to come are slow. Yeah. Seems the only way is to put 5 eyes in and just try to slow things down, and then hope that luck somehow swings your way. Maybe you can get some red tiles to throw in there and then draw some of those. Difficult. So he's taking some time to think. He only allocates 1, so he's still going to go for it militarily. Elrond rolls an eye. I don't really like Elrond that much. He lets other people do all the fighting and stays in his nice little house. So the Fellowship gets moving right away before any bad tiles can come in. He could have perhaps brought out you know the way there first, but he doesn't really need them. He just wants to move fast. So Gandalf is done. Morgul wound. Hit. Thranduil's archers protect. Witch King comes. Eagles come. Good protection for the north. Fighting Uruk-hai. See if the Uruk-hai can take down Elrond. It would kind of serve him right, to be honest, since he doesn't go out and fight like a man should. He stays holed up. So I'm rooting for the Shadow in this battle, and besides, the Shadow needs some luck after things have gone very poorly. Okay, the Eagles come to help. Don't know why they want to help Elrond, but maybe Gandalf told them to, but Gandalf seems, yeah. Anyway, moving on. Let's see. Interestingly, okay, Spartako whiffs pretty much what the Shadow's been practicing this game. Second move, or second round for Shadow. They get a hit. Third round, Spartako gets 2 hits. Come on. Come on, Spartako. Get Elrond. Finish him. Yes! Elrond is down. Fellowship hides. Shadow moves some armies. Shadow is at 4 points right now. Fellowship moves again. It's a 3. Potentially, they can make the top next turn. Okay, the Gondor army, the Gondor Shadow army moves towards Rohan. Galadriel comes. And Southrons move around. Mordor moves more towards Rohan. So if Mordor takes 3 points in Rohan, that's 7. Potentially 2 in Woodland Realm. And Dale, it's hard to take Woodland Realm and Dale with that army. So it's still going to be challenging. But that could be where the 10 points would come from. He really needs to get his red tile into the pool and hope to delay the free. So putting in 1 eye. He needs to hope that the free roll very few. The free roll 2, which is under average. They do have a ring, so they could potentially make the top if they're not revealed. My guess is this time he might move right off, or he might play the way there and get 2 more Smeagol tiles in first. Okay, decides to protect Rohan, also reasonable. If I were the shadow, I think I would put the red tile in the pool and also try to get the Craft of Shelob tile in the pool. You pretty much, you cannot, I think there's almost no way to win this turn unless he gets super lucky in Rivendell. So you have to delay them so that they won't win next turn, and I think you probably need a red tile for that. Also, he has the Palantirs to play, so there's no specific rush to get to Helm's Deep right now. Helm's Deep is already protected. Anyway, there it is, the red tile now. And Vayze is talking about maybe he'll hit it. So he doesn't hit it, but he is revealed. So that means he probably won't make the top now. Potentially, Spartako could get the Craft of Shelob in, especially because he has the faction die to be able to play that. But before he plays that and gets the tile in, he would need to recruit the spiders. So you'd need to use one muster for that. There it is, spiders. And that, boom, nice. Okay, so now he has 2 red tiles in the pool. There are a lot of tiles in the pool. It's a very friendly pool overall, especially with all those Smeagol tiles in play. Let's see, there's 6, 8, 16, 18 tiles in the pool. 2 reds. So 1 out of 9 chance to catch him with a red on the next move, and then another 1 out of 9. So 12. Roughly 20% chance for one of the red tiles to come up in the next 2 moves. Fellowship moves again, and it's a Smeagol tile. So now the red tile is about the only hope, but he has 4 dice, and let's see, is it even theoretically possible to reach 10? I often look at that, like when you're down this much, you have to just take some risks and hope for something lucky to happen. But I don't think he can. He needs 2 dice to take Helm's Deep, 1 die to take Woodland Realm, which would bring him to 8. Then he would need another die for Edoras and another die for Dale, assuming perfect luck. It would need 5 dice, so not possible. Okay, so he's attacking Woodland Realm, right? And he missed, so did not get perfect luck, has not gotten perfect luck the whole game. Attacks Woodland Realm again. Vayze gets perfect luck, almost. 3 hits out of 3 dice. That's always pretty good. One of the best strategies in War of the Ring is rolling 6s. Let me look at that so far. I don't know if you can see this or not. Spartako is down 2 on 6s. Vayze is up 2 on 6s, but Vayze is down 7 on 5, so overall he's gotten poor combat rolls. Spartako is up 3 on Palantirs, and Vayze is up 6 on character dice, which is why he's been able to move quite quickly. It's pretty rare for a 2 expansion game to be almost done on turn 7, so you do not see that often because normally it moves along slower. Okay. Attacking Woodland Realm with dreadful spells. Woodland Realm's down to 1 unit. Okay, now Spartako adds in some eyes. Will it be better late than never? Vayze has 3 character dice in a very friendly pool. I think he's just going to move right away. And he's victorious. So, congratulations to Vayze, or Vayze. I don't know if I pronounced it right. It was a well-played game. He protected well in Rohan, protected well in Gondor, made good plays to get out Aragorn at a good time, to get out the dead men. So those moves in for the Southrons to bring them to war and get the Corsairs didn't end up panning out. So overall, yeah, Vayze played a really smooth game. There's maybe a point or two where Spartako could have been a little more efficient. For example, the Southrons, that didn't seem to help him. But on the other hand, there really wasn't much he could do. It was a lot of bad luck in every phase of the game, especially his action dice and his hunt for the ring were very hard. So some games are really hard to win, and this was one of those. In those games, I sometimes just like to totally shift just to try to slow down the fellowship and hope maybe something will happen, maybe odds will turn. So I think maybe at some point he could have just gone all in with eyes in the box with the Balrog and tried to see, could he draw some tiles pre-Mordor and then throw in some red tiles and then, hope to get a couple big eye damage and some cards and get lucky. But overall, it was very, very difficult to play, and the odds of that panning out were also extremely low with how healthy the fellowship was. So thank you so much for watching. I hope this wasn't too long, and I will plan on streaming the game 2. I hope for a more interesting game in game 2. This was interesting in a form in that it doesn't normally happen whereby it's over so fast in a 2 expansion game. Turn 8 is definitely under average. So it was over fast. It was kind of abnormal in that regard. But hopefully some crazier stuff happens in the next game. So thanks for watching, and tune in next time.